There are dreams you forget the moment you wake up. There are dreams that you also remember. Then there's some that you just remember fragments. Faces without names. Places that dissolve in the light of the morning. And then there are dreams that stay. Not because they were vivid, but because they felt shared. In this episode, I want to tell you stories about those dreams. Not theories, not explanations, but stories. Because when it comes to shared nightmares, facts don't unsettle you. The stories do. So, on this episode, we're going to be looking at the chilling phenomenon of shared nightmares. It begins quietly. A woman wakes up in the middle of the night. Her heart's racing. She's breathing shallow. The room is dark, but it's familiar. It's her bedroom, her house. But at the foot of her bed stands a man. He's tall, featureless, and standing very still. She can't see his face, only the outline of one. Like her mind refuses to finish the image. All she sees is what's described as black, but blacker than black. A color so devoid of color that it almost looks like nothing. He doesn't move. He doesn't speak. He just waits. The next morning, shaken, she tells no one because it was just a nightmare. Until later that day, when her sister, who lives 3 states away, texted her. Her sister said, "I had the weirdest dream last night." And the messages read, "There was a man standing at the foot of my bed, but I could not see his face." Her sister described in the text messages the same posture, the same silence, the same feeling of being watched rather than threatened. They laughed it off. But should they have? Because a week later, their cousin, who had no knowledge of either of their dreams, mentioned the man to him. The man was in the same place, describing the same presence. The only difference were the homes and the lives. But it was the same nightmare. Now, the next story takes place in the late 1990s. A group of college students, they bonded over something very strange. They all remembered the same reoccurring nightmare from their childhoods. A school. Not one they attended in real life, but a long hallway. Yellow fluorescent lights. Lockers dented and rusted. A smell of dust, old paper, and more metallic-y smells. The rules were always the same. They were lost, and they were late, and they were always being watched by something. The rooms never made sense. A classroom turned into a gym. A stairwell that descended far too deep. And a bathroom where the mirrors were always covered. None of them had gone to the same elementary school. Some hadn't even grown up in the same country. But yet, when they compared details, they weren't just similar, they were identical. One student finally asked the question no one wanted to ask. If this place isn't real, why do we all remember it? Have you ever shared a nightmare with someone? What kind of nightmares do you have? Now, in this podcast, we're exploring some stories of shared nightmares. A phenomenon where people quite literally have these same nightmares. I'm going to share one of my nightmares that I have had a couple of times throughout the years. In this nightmare, I wake up and it's pitch black. I'm feeling around me and I'm in a tight space. What I perceive as a wooden box. So I start kicking the box. And as I'm kicking, the box starts filling up with water. Then I feel like I can't breathe. And I wake up. Does anybody share this nightmare with me? I'd be interested to know, because this nightmare, the few times I've had it, I absolutely dread it. Sometimes it does keep me up at night wondering if I'll dream about this nightmare. But let's analyze story 3. In 2018, a man posted on Reddit about a nightmare that's been haunting him for months. In it, the world is empty. Not destroyed, not ruined. Just abandoned. Cars sit still. They're stalled in the streets. Lights flicker in buildings with no occupants. The sky looks weird. It's too pale. He describes it like it's forgotten how to be blue. And he wanders for hours, always alone, until he hears footsteps behind him. He never turns around. He wakes before he can. Within days, though, on his Reddit posts, replies flooded in, saying, "I've been there. I know that place. I hear the footsteps too." People describe streets they've never visited, buildings they've never seen, the same pale sky, and the same silence. But yet when they turn around as well, they wake up. What's unsettling isn't that they dreamt of emptiness. It's that they all dreamt of the same emptiness. What do you guys think of this phenomenon? Could somebody be lying about their dream? Could someone simply just be agreeing with someone to make them perceive that they have the same nightmares? What do they benefit from that? But here's the thing. Liars don't always need to benefit. But who's to say they're lying? In a small town, 3 children began experiencing night terrors. But they weren't the same family. These 3 children were in different homes and in different families. But they were experiencing the night terrors at exactly 2:17 a.m. Each one would wake up screaming. Each one describes the same dream. They're standing in a field at night. Tall grass brushes their legs. No wind. And in the distance, something is moving. They can't describe it, only that it feels old. And that it's calling them. But not calling them with sound, calling them with emotion, calling them with feeling. They feel that it's calling them. The children have never met. Their parents didn't know each other. The only connection, they all lived near the same stretch of woods. The nightmares stopped when one family moved away. So what do you think of this one? How do children come up with such an elaborate nightmare, a detailed nightmare? The only way is an influence, if they made it up. But if they're telling the truth, it seems real. But how are all three of the kids having the same exact nightmare? Let's dive a little deeper. Let's take a look at story number 5. Some people say talking about shared nightmares makes them worse. That naming them gives them permission. There are reports of therapists who noticed a pattern. Patients describing the same dream, the same room, the same entity, and the same impossible architect. But when sessions overlap, when patients compared notes, the dream stopped. Almost like whatever was happening didn't want witnesses, or memory, or anything above. So therapists noticed patterns in their patients' dreams. They were describing the same rooms, the same entities, and the same places. But when the sessions overlapped and they introduced the patients to each other, the nightmare stopped completely. What is happening there? Why would shared nightmares stop once the people dreaming it realized they were having shared nightmares? Let's take a look at story number 6. The most unsettling shared nightmares aren't always frightening. They're familiar. People report dreaming of places they feel homesick for, despite knowing they'll never truly be there. A shoreline under a dim sky, a city with no name, and a forest where the trees bend inward. When they wake up, the fear isn't really panic, it's more of a loss. They long for this place, but this place doesn't exist. Like waking up from somewhere you weren't meant to live. And when they decide to share it with someone, the person quietly says, "I've been there too." Now, these stories are on Reddit. Definitely recommend, if you have a story that you want told, comment it down below. I'd love to have a whole season dedicated to subscriber stories. No matter what the story is, if you feel that you've had a paranormal experience, a supernatural experience, or some kind of strange occurrence, I'd love to hear it. I'd love to analyze it. Comment down below. What if I told you there are moments, although very rare, that are documented and deeply uncomfortable where people shared nightmares happening simultaneously? The same night, the same exact image, and the same emotional feeling. And then the two people wake up at the same time, across time zones, both convinced something ended. They don't know how they know, they just do. Some say shared nightmares are coincidence. Some say it's part of a simulation. And actually, they say all dreams are the simulation. The dreams have been uploaded to the computer. We will all dream the same dreams. It depends on which one you get that night. Now, I don't know how far-fetched that is. A simulated reality is something that doesn't really make sense to me. The argument for a simulated reality is how finite and fine-tuned the universe is. But if you look at it from the point of view of perfection, this universe is far from it. Because you can have the same causation with different effects and different outcomes. So the universe is not truly finely tuned. Now, some do say that the dreams come from stress, media, or pattern-seeking brains. And maybe they do. Maybe that's exactly where this comes from. But then there's the quiet question no one answers comfortably. If dreams are private, why are they shared? Why do they feel like people are there? Why do certain images repeat across cultures, across generations, and repeat with complete strangers in the same night at the same time? And why do some nightmares feel less like imagination and more like an alternate life? Maybe the mind is not as isolated as we think. Maybe we're all connected. Maybe fear connects us. Maybe the universe connects us. Or maybe when we sleep, the walls between us are just thin enough for something to pass through. Now, I'd love to hear anyone's reoccurring nightmares. I think it's something we should pay attention to. See if there is anything more to this. Because right now, there is no real research on this phenomenon. It just chops down to two things. The people who don't believe it say people are lying. And the people who do believe it solely share their experiences. But what about the people who don't not believe it and don't believe it? Who are stuck in the middle? Where are they at? What kind of research has been done on shared dreams? Comment down below what you think. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you for watching Season 1 finale. Season 2 will be out soon. I appreciate all my subscribers. I know I had to remake my channel and I lost all of my subscribers. So I do appreciate the 12 I have right now. I've uploaded Season 1 back. So Season 2 will be out soon. Thank you so much for listening. Take care, and I'll see you Season 2.